Hi, Joe. I am with Joe Doveton, founder of Binary Bear. How are you doing today, Joe?
Yeah, good, Robert. Good.
So you've been in the digital marketing for a while now, and you've seen trends come and go, but this whole AI thing feels different. When did you first click for you that we were shifting towards things like GEO and AEO? And how different is that compared to the ways we've always done it in the past?
There is this thing called confirmation bias, of course. But I think for anybody, the moment that they perceive a shift is when they actively start using these tools and technologies themselves. And with me, it was actually relatively recently. It was probably about 18 months ago. And it had changed. And I had moved everything over to ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and the others. And
Okay.
pretty much anything that I had done previously in short, snappy keywords of one or two words was now being replaced by conversational queries and a dialogue with the machine. And I thought, well, actually, this is me and I'm in the industry. But once everybody clocks this, you're on the verge of something very transformational, because why would you go back to a non-conversational search experience if you can have a dialogue with an entity like a ChatGPT and so on and get the information that you want? So that was my moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a little hesitation in the world today as it relates to AI. A lot of the AI formats are large model formats, as you well know, and there's so many other AI solutions out there that people just aren't aware of that specialize in certain areas. And I think you're 100% right. Once it becomes more mainstream and has a name like ChatGPT, I think that's the Kleenex of the AI world, right? So it's going to be transformational. There's no way about it.
Absolutely. I haven't, I like you mentioned at the start, I've been in the industry for a while. I was at the early stages of the internet within a business environment in the mid 90s. Really, I can remember the first person in my office getting internet access in 1996, and this is going to be bigger than that. And you think how transformational that has been to everybody's working lives. This is on exponentially a scale above that.
Yeah, and I think if you and I today said what we thought AI would be in 5 years or 10 years from now, I truly think both of us will probably be wrong.
Absolutely. I think we are stepping into the unknown, which is for all the good and bad that brings. Nobody can really predict more than about 6 months ahead at the moment.
Right, exactly. For SEO newbies, for business owners who are still trying to wrap their heads around traditional SEO, how would you explain GEO or AEO in plain English? Is it something they can layer on top of what they're currently doing? Or is it more like starting from scratch and rethinking the whole conversion game?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's if you're working with people who are good at search and are ahead of their game and on top of their game, you won't find it that different, because there's been this transition over the last decade or so away from simple kind of keyword based search to this kind of deeper NLP powered, intent powered search experience, where the algorithms are trying to understand the context of what people are searching for through assorted cues. And of course, the big difference here is really this move from keyword matching, does this keyword fit in this box method, to entities that the large language models and the part of the Google algorithm that uses NLP can understand as concepts and can link concepts together. So it's, if your SEO or the people you're working with are kind of already talking about that, you won't find it that's different. There are still a lot of people that are, kind of flogging 2010 solutions out there for 2025 problems.
Right.
So, you need to be careful. But we've moved away from keywords to the point where these interfaces are trying to actually understand what your content is around and they will use the neural pathway, the neural cues to facilitate that.
Right, right. That's fascinating stuff. In reference to the data shift, you guys are known for digging deep into data, at least from the research I've done on you. So when you start optimizing for answer engines, what new data points or signals do you pay attention to? Is it different with the new models versus what the SEO looks like today?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the big unknown here is you've had a world where for 20 years, success has been predicated on traffic.
Mhm.
So, your brand performance is all about getting people to your website. We are moving into a world where that is not going to happen to the same extent. Obviously, there still will be traffic, but you could be talking about substantial drops in traffic. Most people are experiencing this. So you're looking at an age where what success looks like goes beyond simply whether somebody clicks. And I don't think we've kind of worked out yet precisely what that looks like, because so many, SEO projects and agencies, everything's predicated on driving you clicks. So if you're not getting a click for that experience where you appear in an LLM, what are you getting out of it? So I think we're feeling our way to what success looks like. Now, it might be things like, there's an uplift in direct traffic later down the line. After somebody's become more aware of your brand, you still pick up the conversion. There's this phenomenon at the moment, which is called the crocodile mouth, which you might have heard of, which is an increasing number of impressions, i.e. your brand's being seen much, but fewer clicks. So they're kind of going in the opposite direction.
Right. Right.
So
how is that affecting, for example, e-commerce? Like, these brands.
It's affecting everybody. I mean, basically, the whole what's happening is that there's an erosion of traffic at the informational part of the journey. So let's say you're going out and you're going to buy a new TV. Previously you might do it in various over several different Google searches from you need 50 inch 4K TV, and then the qualifiers like 50-inch 4K Samsung TV, and then maybe the provider 50K Samsung TV from Best Buy. So you kind of progressive add in different types of qualifier the further you get down the process. Now you're kind of just saying, I'm looking for this type of TV. The room's this shape. We watch this kind of material on television. I've got this sound system. This is the price point. I'm based here. What can you get for me? You get it all out in the open at once. That journey that may well have been broken up over 4, 5, 6 different searches, including visits to websites, is done in one step. And it's a scary thing because everybody's, your business has been predicated on, obviously it's conversions, but it's also predicated on traffic. You start thinking, oh my God, our traffic's going down. Is the business in trouble? And ironically, what you should be seeing, if your business is successful, you should start seeing a very odd phenomenon as your conversion rate will actually be going up because you'll be getting the same number of conversions from fewer visitors.
Right, so your impressions are up, but your traffic is down.
Impressions are up, traffic's down, your conversions are the same, your conversion rate goes up. Side effect of that.
Right.
So, especially a lot of retailers who aren't on top of the detail will kind of, they might sort of incorrectly think that everything's healthy because their conversion rate is going up, whereas actually, your traffic's going down. You're getting the same number of conversions from fewer people. Right. But the key thing is, in terms of that, is this is going to affect everybody. There will be some industries that will be worse affected, and so businesses that are there to provide information are the most at risk. So things like how-to guides and newspaper sites or news resources, these are at risk because people will be getting their information and the answer they want within the prompt answer themselves.
Wow, that's fascinating. Is this so? Going back to the GEO and AEO in this crocodile method, what does this mean for like digital marketers and agencies? Are we just adding tools to an already built deck, or do you think it's going to reshape how marketers actually do work?
I think it will have to, because the agents, me included, I'm not into it. I've worked in agencies for a long time. We have a set number of processes, workflows that we lean on, some of those are going to become redundant. If you, for example, if you're providing traffic-based reports and you're suddenly starting to justify your existence based on traffic, you can no longer do that. So people have got to think, beyond that. So SEO really becomes more about the whole end-to-end experience of managing your brand online rather than just that relationship between a Google search ranking and a click. And in truth, it's been like that for years anyway.
Right.
It's about kind of managing the whole of you, but because really, if you were doing offsite properly, that's about kind of managing your reputation, reaching out to companies to get links,
Right.
leveraging social. Anybody who's doing it properly will have been doing this stuff for a while anyway.
Right.
It's a big shift, and there will be some agencies that can't move fast enough and won't make it.
Right.
And there will be new tools, and there will be new providers that will
I think
that will appear.
I think that's across all industries, though. The people that don't embrace AI invariably are going to get left behind. Right. You at least have to take the first step to understand it and understand how it can assist you. Because at the end of the day, I think currently if you want to strike the perfect chord, it's the combination of human and AI interaction where you still have that face-to-face contact with a human being, where AI is there assisting you, making you, collecting all this data in half the time you'd be able to. It's making you more efficient, faster, smarter, and ultimately, if you're doing stuff, if you're executing at a higher level and not spending as much time on it, that translates to dollars. So I think ultimately, people and businesses can work towards, and it's going to be different for everyone, can work to create that interaction within their businesses. I think they're going to be better off for it. And the ones that don't do it, unfortunately, are going to be left behind, just go out of business.
Exactly. And there's a big difference there between productivity and value. And there's a lot of stuff, a lot of processes, even that I've been doing over the last 10 years, where it's producing stuff. Clients are getting reports, they're getting output, but a lot of that takes time. With the explosion of the AI tool, suddenly you can find that, actually that report that took me an hour and a half now takes me 4 minutes. And I'm using that, I'm using that, the rest of that 86 minutes to think about the problem more, be more creative, and really drill into coming up with better solutions. So all the kind of stuff that you kind of ran out of time for before is actually now getting dealt with, and it's getting surfaced because people are generally buying, however agencies sell, people are buying a person or a group of people for a certain amount of time each month. And those people are freed up to actually do stuff that's beyond kind of generating output, thinking about problems, being more strategic, coming out with better solutions. And that's certainly how I'm using it.
The landscape now, especially when it comes to content strategy, do you think the AI-driven answers changes the way we should be creating content?
Yes. I mean, there's a kind of interesting issue here, is because obviously so much content is itself now AI generated.
Right.
So it is, I suppose it's kind of really a continuation of what we've already seen before, where there was a huge amount of content that was generated to fit a niche keyword set. For example, you remember in SEO, you used to see these pages that would be, this will mop up cheap holidays with the kids in Bermuda, cheap holidays with the kids in Barbados, and so on. You'd have these pages, and there is an element of that. What it should do is free up people to have because a lot of the automated tasks are much quicker to really think about what the value is for their readers and the people they're looking to engage, and produce better content. So rather than just, we've ticked a box here, actually, how can we properly provide something that's what Google always said was important, interesting, and useful?
Right.
And really do that properly, rather than kind of just churning out stuff, which I think a lot of people have been doing.
Right. Binary Bear, if you had to say, what's the one thing that you guys are just hitting out of the park? What you do really well? And then on the flip side of that, not necessarily what you're doing bad, but what part of your business do you feel could use improvement? And if so, how are you working to fix that?
So I think so it's a small consultancy. It's basically me and a few freelancers. It's not a big company. The one thing that I have always talked about, and I think only relatively recently we've really started walking the walk as well, is being a properly integrated solution provider in digital and not siloed in, kind of certain discipline areas. Because I think there is a tendency in agencies, clients come in and say, I want 10 kilos of SEO, and agencies sell them it 10 kilos of SEO, rather than saying, actually, what's the problem we're trying to solve here that you think is solved by SEO? So I think where we are excelling at the moment is building scalable, modular solutions because I work mainly with small businesses, right? Working on scalable modular solutions for companies where it's 3-4 days a month, and actually delivering really decent value across search, across thinking about how users and the generative engines are intersecting with the question and answer based economy. So that's kind of like the growth of FAQs, how those are formatted. And also, because people are on the websites far less, or are going to be on the websites far less than they were in the future, really getting value out of each of those visits for clients by making it much easier for them, making it more likely that they're going to convert on that visit, or that they're going to engage in some way that you can draw them in later down the line. So that's kind of like what I think we are best at the moment. And actually, the answer about where we can improve is the same thing. How can we streamline that even further, so that rather than offering people kind of like a sort of siloed experience, we can actually say, you can't work with Binary Bear. We're a problem-solving company. We will drill into what the nature of your problem is, and irrespective of what you think your tactics you should use, we'll find the right tactics for what you need, and we'll apply them at the right time.
Right. You've obviously have spotted the trend, right? The shift. Are there tools that you're using now that you think especially powerful for winning old school search and new AI powered search?
Yes, we are using a toolkit that we've used for a number of years. So things like, obviously Google Search Console and Screaming Frog and SEMrush and Moz and others, and InLinks and other tools. Should be building our own what we're calling a workspace, which is essentially we've built our own automations to pull in data from Google's NLP API and visualize entities. So entities, as I mentioned earlier on, are kind of the topic set that natural language processing use to identify or basically assign meaning to content. So we've got an entity generator that we've built ourselves. Also, we're using tools. There is a few of these out there. We're using particularly one called Peak, PEC.ai. And this is quite interesting because it partly answers one of the questions you had earlier on about, what are the new metrics? So Peak basically sends out automated prompts to the LLMs and measures whether your brand or your competitors appear. So some of the metrics that you get out of that are visibility score. So the percentage of times that your brand appears in a prompt, the sentiment analysis of whether you're mentioned positively or negatively on a scale of 0 to 100, and frequency, and so how frequently you mention. So these are all potentially new metrics that might eventually be common currency about whether people are successful in LLMs. At the moment, it's kind of very much you're doing worse or you're doing better than your competitor.
Right.
But still interesting. It's still worthwhile. So we're using those, and we've built our own schema analysis tool, which looks at schema gaps, and a knowledge graph audit tool, which tells you whether you're in the knowledge graph. So it's a mixture of things that we've always used and stuff that we built ourselves. And I think there will be a few people that will be doing that, because obviously the power of this new reality is you get some clever people in, you can start to build your own toolkit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're definitely on the ground floor for sure. You're going to see a lot of wealth created in a short period of time over AI.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I mean, and
Yeah.
obviously, what will happen? You and I have been around the block. We'll have seen. We saw this with the first e-commerce bubble bursting in the late '90s. There'll be a feeding frenzy over the next couple of years, and then
Yeah, I
when
still
the
have a e-com business.
well, exactly, yeah. So, but there are always people with unrealistic expectations, and then there's a boom and a bust. But in the background, the actual line is like that.
It is. It just takes time. We live in a world
Ignore.
where, yeah, everyone
People think
wants.
that they want it all now. People think they don't have time. Everything's so short term.
Yes,
But
exactly.
this is a forever change, and it's going to happen a lot quicker than some of the other ones. But it won't all play out at once.
Yeah, I mean that's why so many small businesses fail, because things get tough and they just, they just don't follow through. It's the world today wants a short time to success, and that's something that hasn't changed, and I don't think will change. I think AI can speed it up, but you're not opening an e-commerce business or an agency, or you can name it, and 6 months from now you're making millions of dollars. That's just not going to happen. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I can't think of anything at the moment. I'll be honest.
All right. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for being part of the podcast. It was a great conversation. You shared some valuable insights, and listeners are only going to be better off for it. Thank you. Thank you
You're
so much.
very kind, Robert. Thank you.